All right, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and get ready to get started. Let me kill this reverb. All right, we got the mic fixed now. Mic check 1 2. Can you hear me? Mic check 1 2. All right, there we go. Had a little audio issues there, but in case you didn't hear me and you're just coming in, welcome, shalom, salam, and namaste. Welcome to the channel. Tonight's discussion is about the spiritual enlightenment of the modern day black person. Now, for those of us who came from Christianity and are now either Muslims, Moors, black Hebrew Israelites, or even some of us are Kemetic. Some of us have even become atheists or agnostic. Some even call themselves Greek, Shriner, or Freemason. Well, tonight we're going to talk about it all in this part 1 series to discuss black consciousness and what it means to you. Now, one of the questions I have about all the different factions, whether you're more Mason or Muslim, one of the first questions I'd have to ask is, with so many separate factions, how can it be good for the black community? We're already so divided in so many different ways. When you have so many different groups and so many different beliefs, people ask me the question, well, Slide, what can black people do to come together? What can we do to help each other? Well, it seems like everybody kind of breaks down to their own tribes, even among ourselves. So it also begs the question, who's right? Who's wrong? So if you have a soul, this conversation is for you. Because in my mind, everybody's not wrong, but at the same time, everybody can't be right. You have the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, even the Apocrypha, and eventually they overlap with even some of the same prophets and scriptures, but they also contradict each other at certain points. And then, what is the Apocrypha? Most people never even heard of it. Is it even Holy Scripture? And what about that King James guy? See, I have questions the Black Baptist Church just isn't answering right now. To me, in my personal opinion, and this is no diss to any of my Christian friends, but to me, they're too busy praise dancing and doing mime shows. And at the same time, the Pentecostals are doing a 100-yard dash down the pews and shouting and screaming like banshees. Let me ask you this, black people. How many times have you went to church and not felt saved or uplifted? See, you hear all the music and the shouting and the show, walk right out of church and can't remember one lesson from the sermon. Or you go to the pastor and ask a question about the Bible that they can't answer, and they treat you like shit. You want to watch a pastor's head really explode? Ask them where Cain went after he left the garden. How did he find a bride if there was no one else on earth but him, Adam, and Eve? He had to receive a mark so that others wouldn't harm him. Well, who were they? Like I said before, we have questions, but the church isn't answering questions right now, which forces us to find our own answers. Now we live in the days of the quote-unquote woke. Since the information age and DNA testing became available, it gave us a chance not only to study the real history of our ancestors, but to actually trace them back to their countries of origin. When you start down the road of consciousness, two things happen. One of the first things that happen is disbelief. You've basically been brainwashed your whole life to believe one thing, and then when someone introduces another belief system to you, that cognitive dissonance kicks in. You know, you don't believe what they're saying, it's voodoo, it's too far flung, it's not part of your doctrine, it's just not something that you can dig. You don't initially believe that there can be a black Messiah or there can be black prophets. You'll even argue somebody down in the name of white Jesus and somebody told you. You celebrate Easter, Christmas, and you allow your children to celebrate Halloween and never once stop to ask why. You do it because you were raised to do it and everybody else is doing it. You don't want to be the weird guy that doesn't celebrate holidays, right? That's a Jehovah's Witness thing. Then you stop and realize that most of these holidays are man-made bullshit based on pagan rituals and the solar calendar. Then you start seeing that the holidays have nothing to do with Christ or your actual religion as a Christian. So now that you've broken the spell and you see through some of the false doctrines that have been pushed on us for generations, what's the next move? What happens next? The second thing that you do is you start seeking. You wonder, does anybody else think like me? Does anybody else see through the hypocrisy of organized religion and how it's destroyed entire races of people? The same Bible that tells us to be good slaves was translated by a gay white king 1600 years after the fact of anything happening, and that's accepted by most churches and fraternities as the definitive word. So when we start to seek the truth, you start to learn about the Council of Nicaea, the Emperor Constantine, and the Roman Catholic Church. You see how dirty and crooked these bloodthirsty homosexuals are from the time of Caesar all the way through the Crusades to modern day. So you know in your spirit something doesn't sit right with them, so you continue your journey. You start to turn inward, and you start to turn towards people that look like you. We finally start opening our minds and listening to different points of view. You learn after your entire life that the 10 Commandments were almost taken word for word from the 42 negative confessions. You may never find Moses' stone tablets with the 10 Commandments or the Ark of the Covenant, but in Egypt, right now, you can see, read, and touch the instructions that were given to us by the ancestors thousands of years ago. Nowhere in Israel, Egypt nor Palestine will you find one grave, not one grave, for Peter, Paul, Joseph, Judas, John, Mary, or any other biblical acolyte, but you can find the fully intact tombs with fully intact bodies of ancient Egyptian pharaohs. So I'm not here to knock anybody else's belief, but I do have questions because right now I'm on that spiritual journey in life where it's hard to get questions answered, and then everywhere I look, I see trickery, even among my own people. Case in point, when I look up the Nuwabians, the first thing I see is Brother Polite. When I was directed towards Brother Polite, I got directed towards a channel called Saneter TV. That's Saneter, I think, TV. Anyway, a lot of what I learned about the initial consciousness movement came about 2 years ago watching Saneter TV and watching the debates between the Black Hebrew Israelites, the Nuwabians, the Moors, and the Muslims. So I said, all right, let's see what this whole Kemetic thing is about. They sound solid and they have evidence to back their beliefs. So then you come into Polite, smooth talker, former gang member. He's even been interviewed on Vlad TV. So if you don't know who Polite is, you type in Polight or Brother Polite, and there's a lot of information about him. He is a motivational speaker, and right now he has a lot of Hollywood elites under his ring. He's also a polygamist and has several wives of different ages. Like I say again, it's not my belief system. I just realized that it came not from him, so I can't give Polite all the credit. It was actually started by a guy named Malachi York. And Dr. York actually had a compound here in South Georgia. The compound looked like a mini Egypt with everything from pyramids, obelisks, sphinxes, and more. Eventually it was shut down because the man went to prison for various reasons. And, me not knowing enough about him, only hearing third party about his character, the things that he was accused of, like pedophilia, child abuse, or whatever, I can't vouch for it, so I won't speak ill of the man. But I know that one of his biggest acolytes, being Polite, recently scammed people out of thousands of dollars with the scheme to use Connex boxes as apartments. If you look at rail car apartments, or if you Google rail car apartments, they take the Connex boxes that come from trains and convert them into apartments and living spaces. Brother Polite took credit for one of these for one of these projects, like it was something that he came up with, that he was the inventor of, or that he was the main investor in. Come to find out, this is a project that came out several years ago that was already patented, and the job site that he was actually on wasn't even his. It wasn't even his property. Everything was staged to make it look like this guy actually ran the show. Now, for as smooth as he talks, I'm going to give you an example of one thing that he did that got my respect in the beginning. He checked in Harlem. They were the Scientologists to set up a booth and getting all the black folks in Harlem to cleanse their mind or sit down and talk to them about whatever problems they had. Well, Polite comes in with the group of his peers and busts it up. It gets to the place where the police get called, and they actually end up making the Scientologists move off site. I was proud of my brother to see him do that and to stand up the way he did. For him to wait a few years later and start scamming people out of their money, or buying books that they order and never receive, or spending money on projects that never come to fruition, schools, it makes me wonder about the Nuwabian community, and are these guys honest or not, with the leaders and founders sleeping with each other's wives and daughters, and the whole nine. Is just a little weird to me. But again, I'm not knocking the brothers because there are good things that they do in the community. So I'm going to take a minute to pause and check out the chat. Give everybody a hello and a shout out that's here. All right, starting with Isra Sabir. I'm just reading down from the top. Again, welcome. My moderator, Jay Boogie, is here with me tonight to welcome everybody. All right, so you did an interview with Khalid Muhammad while at the Million Man March in 1997. I know that would have to be on VHS, if anything, cassette. But if you had that, that would be so awesome to share with the family. So if you do have that material, definitely hit me up after the chat. I would love to see it. All right, but the Bible describes Cain as dark. What about the others? Tablets you can touch and read. Hebrews had many messiahs, never had was just one. I'm just going down the list here. I have Exodus 4:22. I have Noodles 1980 here. I have Isra Sabir, and everybody's making good points. So I just want to take the time to read everybody's points. That's a good question. Why are Jews still waiting for the Messiah? Because one of the main divisions that I see in our society, not just black society, is the church. If I give you any good example, let's look at the Irish and the situation with the Catholics and the Protestants. These people still hate each other after generations and live in the same villages, same town. Some of them are even cousins and kin. But just because one is Catholic and one is Protestant, they still fight like dogs. Let's look at the Shia and the Sunni. These guys should be brothers fighting a real tyrant. And I think we all know who the real tyrant is. I don't have to say it, do I? These guys are still fighting after generations. Could you imagine how much more powerful they would be if they joined forces? Which leads me to our discussion tonight. We have so many different factions among us. We have Moors now who claim to be indigenous. We have Kemetic. We have Hebrew Israelites. And then we have the guys that just say, you know what, it's all too confusing. And I believe in a higher power, but I don't believe in all these different doctrines. And I think that's where I stand. Because even though I say shalom, I'll say salam, I say namaste. The one thing I don't understand, for instance, this is for my Hebrew Israelite brothers, is the name Yahweh. I've looked in scripture. I've looked in the Apocrypha. I've looked in different sources. And yes, I do understand the letter J is only 500 years old. My last name is Jones. I know the whole deal behind that. But it still begs the question, if the Bible doesn't mention the name Yahweh, who made it up? Chime in the chat and school me on this one. Like I say, I'm not putting anybody down. I'm not here to insult anybody's religion. We are all here tonight to learn and understand. And this is only part one. I do plan on having a part two of this chat and getting more enlightenment and hoping that we can enlighten each other. All right, that's awesome, Isra. I would love to hear that, because I have actually two of my past videos where I referenced Dr. Khaled. One as a bonus feature at the end of a video, the Gillette video about Leave Our Boys Alone, and I also referenced him in the Cat Williams video that went viral and brought most of my new subscribers. All right, now one thing that I do believe wholeheartedly in is the fact that no matter what, the black community will never reach our full strength until we can come together. Now, as a former Freemason, I know what that togetherness feels like. To be with the brothers, to come together for a common cause, whether it was fixing bikes for kids for the bike drive or coloring eggs for the Easter egg hunt. All those things felt really good, but there was also another side to what we were doing where the same feeling that I mentioned earlier about the Black Baptist Church, about going to church and not feeling saved, I never really felt like I belonged to that particular brotherhood. I took the oaths, I took the obligations, but I never really felt like a brother. I know that feels weird to say, but I just never felt like I really belonged into that their way of thinking and their philosophies. Because the more I learned and the deeper I went, the more I did things I felt like went against the God that I believe in. It's a mismatched uh, gobbledygook of ancient Jewish religion mixed in with a little new school Christianity, mixed in with ancient Egyptian mysticism, all smashed into one fraternity. They even stole the crescent moon from the Moors. They took the Moorish fez. They took Egyptian and Muslim names for their mosques or their quote unquote shrines. And the original form of Freemasonry actually came from the Orient Eastern mystic schools long before it was Europeanized and the Templar stole the secrets. When they invaded the temple, found the scriptures and the working tools and the secrets that made them billionaires to this day. They took the money, flew under the Templar name, and when the Templar were executed, they took the money and fled to Sweden and still fly under the red and white flag. Switzerland rather. They formed Switzerland. They turned them hill people into bankers, and they still fly the red and white flag to this day. And if you go even to Wikipedia or Google or anywhere else and look at the origins of Switzerland, it'll always say that the origins are shrouded in mystery or unknown, or they'll tell you that they are not really sure how it got founded. But it has the most secretive bank because the Templar hid what money they had there. The ones that didn't fly under the red and white banner flew under the skull and bones. Again, that's history that you can go research on your own. But as it applies to blacks and Freemasonry, I don't give that stuff a hill of beans any more than I do Greek fraternities. Now again, that's no insult. If anybody in here is Q-Dog, A5A, I invite everybody to come here and give their input. But I look at the Greeks, and the Greeks were just a bunch of gay boy stickers who used politics and backstabbing to get over on each other. And then when they were able to pool their resources, they conquered entire lands. And once they were able to conquer those lands, they inserted their pagan beliefs in with the beliefs of the land, which when they went into Christian or Jewish territory, they just said, "Oh, the hell with it. Let's just do our ceremony with their ceremonies and just everybody party." And that's what we do. The children of slaves who came from a place where we acknowledge God. Whether you believe in the Hebrew Israelites or not, the oldest Israelite sects that you'll find on earth are in Ethiopia, not in Israel. They eat kosher, they respect the Sabbath, and they follow Judaic practices, yet and still Israel doesn't even recognize it. Most of scripture comes from us, and I feel like it was adulterated. Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you so much for that super chat. Uh, I want to pronounce your name right. Naima34. Give me a thumbs up if I pronounce that right. Thank you so much for the super chat. And I will continue to try to spread the truth. And if whatever truth I don't understand, I have you guys to look up to help me find that understanding. It's no problem, Israel. I appreciate you. But those gay pagan idol worshippers inserted their beliefs into ours, and now to this day we follow doctrines that just aren't for us. We eat food that's just not for us. And not only are our minds being affected, our bodies are affected. You know, the same mental trash that we're fed by poor education, a miseducation. You know, we feed our bodies with the saturated bullshit that they shove on us, especially in poor communities. First thing we grow up eating are hot sausages and Vienna sausages and sugary cereals and whole milk, and we start tearing up our bodies day one and don't even know any better because we have their diet. We adopted their ways. We adopted their religions and their traditions, and never stopped to question it until now. So now that we've been awakened, black man, now that black woman, now that we've been awakened to the government, you know, the goings on, you know, we're not only street smart now, but we're book smart. You know, we don't just take what's given us at face value. We ask questions. We dig deeper. We want to know what, why, and we're finding answers. How do we apply this? I had one of my moderators, a gentleman by the name of Myron, ask me a question, or he wanted to actually have the topic: how do black men work together? How do we build and grow together? Well, I say we start with forums like this. All right, we can do that, but then we have guys like Brother Umar Johnson. Well, I not say brother, but Umar. Again, I mentioned polite earlier, and for those that are just coming into the chat, I don't think we have anybody new, but just to catch up, I was talking about the Nubian community. Let's talk about the Pan-Africans for a minute. The first time I heard about the Pan-African movement, I was so hyped. I was so excited that there was once again militant, strong, proud, loud black men standing up, wearing the red, the black, and the green, and throwing up that black fist and going up to the face of white America and telling these crackers what we stand for and that we're going to do for self. We're going to buy our own land. We're going to run our own schools. We're going to stop teaching the bullshit that Christopher Columbus discovered America and George Washington never told a lie, and the other bullshit that they try to push on us. We're going to teach our kids about black kings and black royalty. We're going to teach them who built the pyramids. We're going to teach them about the Aztecs and the Incas and the Mayans. And we're going to teach them how they got destroyed by white superiority. We're going to teach them the real history. We're going to teach them about the Taino Indians and how they got wiped out. We're going to teach them about the Rapa Nui and why they do the Haka dance. We're going to teach them about the indigenous tribes in New Zealand. And shout out to my Kiwi brothers out there. See, the more knowledge we gain, the more strength we gain of self. And now we have movements like the Pan-African movement. But then we have guys like Brother Umar who, just like Polite, talk a really good game, get everybody hyped up, get you motivated, get you ready, get ready to have the strength of Ogun and walk out the house with your chest out, your head held high, and be proud to be a black man again. So you send this brother $500 because you want to see 500 little black boys get a good education and be taught right by black teachers in a new environment with new desks and up to date tech, up to date equipment and all. And then brother takes the money and runs. You put your faith and your trust, and weeks go by, months go by. You send a few emails, you send a few phone calls, don't get a response. You go to a live speech where he's selling books, and he's shaking hands and selling books and shaking hands and selling books, and you get up there to him and, hey brother, I'm brother so and so, and I donated to the school, and I just want to know the progress. And, well, brother, I thank you for your time and your support, and you the man, and I'm gonna remember you, and give me your name and I'll get back to you. Weeks and months go by and you never see the brother again. That's where the trickery comes in. That's where I'm skeptical about wanting to be a part of a movement or be a part of a doctrine. Now, let's talk next about the black Hebrew Israelites. Now, from what I understand, the doctrine goes, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I've gathered, is that basically we were put in ships, like the scripture said, and placed in bondage, Egypt being a metaphor for the United States. Give me a shalom if that's right so far. I don't want to get this wrong. Alright, I'm just looking at the chat real quick, because I don't, like I said again, I don't want to make a mistake here, because I know got a few Hebrew Israelite brothers, so it's subs. So, put back in ships, placed in bondage. You have the different tribes, and depending on your ethnic background determines the tribe that you belong to. So for instance, if you happen to be from the West Indies, Caribbean, I believe that's the tribe of Reuben. Whereas if you are I guess an average black man with regular black African features, you most likely belong to the tribe of Judah. Again, please correct me on this because I'm still learning. I was first introduced to the Hebrew Israelites through a group called the IUIC. I believe on the videos on YouTube they wear purple and gold. And there's a brother in glasses. Well, there's a couple brothers that wear glasses. That's a bad description. But I guess these are your less militant brothers, your less militant Israelites. Because after I saw IUIC, then I saw ISUPK, and then I saw the Sicario. And then basically, looks like I was looking at the black version of the Ku Klux Klan, with the putting whites in slavery and Esau and all that talk. So, I started doing my research. I started studying. I listened to debates, and it came down to the point of taking a bribe. And those of you who are familiar with the talk, you know where I'm going with this. For those of you who don't, it's been said that one of the doctrine of the black Hebrew Israelites is once a young lady becomes 12 or old enough to have her period, that it's okay to not to be graphic, make her your bride. Now, there's nothing in my spirit that would allow me to look up to a spiritual leader. Now, I am very, um, what do you want to call it, understanding of other people's cultures. And I realize that you can go to certain countries right now and marry a 7-year-old girl for 2 sheep and a cow. As long as you have a dowry, they will give you their child. What's good for them is good for them, but as far as I'm concerned, it's just not for me. To look up to my spiritual leader and see a 12-year-old girl sitting in his lap that's not his daughter, that's not his niece, that he's laying down with at night, I don't think I could have much respect, and I don't think I could be in a group that would allow that. But please set the record straight for me. Is that a myth that the black Hebrew Israelites have a doctrine that allows sex at puberty? Tell me about it, people. Educate me on this one. Hey, welcome to the chat, Yuji. Good to see you again. Oh, Katrina Dorsey. Hey, Katrina. I didn't see. I'm just now checking the chat again, so just give me a second while I check the chat here. If we stop for a year and clean our bodies, we could clean our pineal glands. I want to talk about that here in just a second. I'm so glad you brought that up. Most of our successful blacks that we look up to are European descent. You can tell by the bone structure. Most of Judah's in USA. Okay, so that kind of backs up what I was saying about the little knowledge I have about the Israelites. Uhuru Sasa. Yes, the Israelites that I've seen in Harlem and in Brooklyn, and even the ones that they have down here in Atlanta and in the South, they are super aggressive. And in the South, I guess it's different because these guys can go stand on the street corner and literally say, F America, F you, white people are going to die. And the police walk right by them and never say a word. People get up there and scream in their face and they get mad, and I guess their little acolytes, they, have been known to knock a nooka out. If you get too close to their leader or you get a little bit too fussy with them. I've even seen them give a woman the business, especially women. I think they're harder on women than they actually are dudes. So, again, I'm still learning, and I don't want to condemn all Hebrew Israelites for the actions of a few. So, no, I'm not on that, But I just feel like, God's word is peace. And I feel like when you spread peace, you spread love, and you vibrate on a certain level. That's where it goes back to Katrina's comment about the pineal gland. And I want to talk about that just for a moment, because, again, we're family. I'm not going too far off topic, but I believe in, I think, here's my theory. Coons all have calcified pineal glands. I think that's one of the symptoms when it's not functioning properly. When your mind is not open to the spirit or to the ancestors. When your mind is not open to right thinking, and you've just been brainwashed to, in that cognitive dissonance, to love your master even though he's beating the shit out of you. Once you break the mold and you crack the code, you you look at life a different way, and you start to see things from a broader perspective, and it's a beautiful thing. It's hard going back, and I don't want to just say it's just coons. I don't want to say that, because it was years and years of brainwashing and years of bad treatment that brought us here to the point where we are now. It was our grandmothers and our elders. They weren't coons. They just didn't know any better, so they only taught us what they had been taught. I don't fault them for that. But a lot of what they ingrained and instilled in us is still hard to break. I have an uncle, as a matter of fact. We used to have discussions, and when I don't want to call it woke. I hate that term. I want to say once I came into consciousness about everything. Started having discussions with him about it, about the Bible and everything. And everything he came at me with was from Joel Osteen, or something he heard from a TV evangelist. Everything he came at me with sounded like something he heard from a white guy. Come to find out, all his doctrine and everything he believed in came from a white Christian perspective. Just so happens this Negro only messes with white women. He loves NASCAR, and he loves fishing, and he used to love to hunt. Now, as a Southern boy, we do that. So, a lot of guys, rappers, athletes that you don't know go fishing and hunting. We do this. But I think it's part of self-sustenance anyway. That's another story. This dude's pineal gland could not be more closed off to the vibration. To the vibration of spirit that exists between those of us who know and those of us who don't want to know. Those of us who close our eyes to the truth and still believe that George Washington chopped down a cherry tree and Columbus discovered America and all the bullshit they've been pushing on us since day one. He's a believer in the American flag, and don't you touch my flag. My flag. I hate to say it, but he's one of the biggest coons I've ever seen in my life, and I hope he sees this video. Coon ass nigga. You look at the Jason Whitlocks of the world, or the Candace Owens, or you name it. I mean, even Roland Martin, Charlemagne the God, the list goes on. There are just certain things, certain personality traits that coons have that show that they're not vibrating on that level. That's just something I thought I'd mention. Guys, Katrina mentioned it. Alright, let's see here. The flood is a myth. It was made up by black Israelites to discredit the Africa-Asia connection. I thought the flood of Gilgamesh, the flood of Noah, looking at the Grand Canyon and seeing that the water came up to the walls, being able to find seashells on mountaintops, I thought that was evidence that there had been a great catastrophic flood. I mean, they interpreted as Gilgamesh, Noah, and I think there's a few other cultures that also talked about a great flood or a great wave at some point in history. If that's not right, tell me about it in the chat. Do me a favor. Asians come from us. One thing now, all right. Looks like in the discussion, we're in the chat, we're having a discussion about indigenous people. Asian eyes, high cheekbones, plump lip, modern day. That's an interesting theory, Noodles, and I'm glad to have you here to talk about that. Let's see. Look at some photos of the Great Dynasty. Now, one thing I know for sure that I've seen as far as us is that you can go to China, you can go to Japan, you can go to Korea, Switzerland, Sweden, and go to Ireland, they're going to put out red-haired babies. You go to China, they're going to put out little yellow babies. You go to the Philippines, more little slant-eyed babies. You go to Africa, I can show you the entire spectrum. I can show you a black man that looks like a little Chinaman. I can show you a black man that looks like a Filipino. I can show you a black man with a wide James Evans nose that looks like a Samoan. But you cannot go to Japan and find us because they can't make us. We are the original and we created them. We created all of them. Some people say the white man was created by an experiment. Some people call them the children of Esau. But the one thing I can put my stamp on is that all of them came from us. And that's a fact. Because I can show you 100 pictures and line them up side by side. I can show you a black African that looks like Nicolas Cage, and I can show you one that looks like The Rock, and show you one that looks like whoever you want to look at. And they'll have the slanted eyes, or the round eyes, or the high cheekbones, or the fat cheekbones, or the wide nose, or the narrow nose, or the curly hair, or the straight hair, or the red hair, or the blonde hair. We make them all. Show me two Japanese people that can make one of us. Can't do it. Alright, let's see. Do you realize that black people scientifically proven that 660 red ones trying to form melatonin? Well, there are 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons, and that can't be denied. That's simple science. You know, what we learned about the mark of the beast is different from, well, I don't want to say different. This is where science and scripture tend to meet, and where you have to almost make your own conclusions. But I'm not scared of 3 numbers. I thought that the mark was the worst thing that could ever happen. If I had ticket number 666, I would literally step out of line and jump back in line so I'd be number 667 or 668. That's how afraid I was of that number, until I realized that it was our actual chemical makeup, and that is not anything to be afraid of. Now, am I going to go get a microchip in my wrist in place of a credit card? Not today. You know, I'm not getting a barcode, a microchip, or none of that. But do I recognize that, you know, the chemical makeup of the human, you know, that carbon atom, that, you know, ashes to ashes? Yeah. That's our chemical makeup. And all races did come from the melanated people, Exodus. That is true. All creation comes from darkness. Right now, they are looking at dark matter and they can't figure it out. They look at a black hole where no energy can escape, and they wonder why something is that strong, powerful, and they still just can't understand it to this day. Well, let's send a probe. Well, let's send a satellite to look at it. They don't understand dark matter when it's the simplest thing. All creation came from, say it with me, darkness. Before there was a sun or a moon, what was there? There was black. And it's been said that black is not even a color, it's a frequency. It's a vibration. And it goes back to the discussion about that pineal gland. There's a certain love and admiration and strength that you feel when everybody vibrates on that same frequency, on that frequency of black. It's not until it gets distorted with those other frequencies that we lose who we are. We shave our heads or cut our hair off, or we conform and throw a crucifix around our neck and think that's going to ward off evil spirits, or believe in some spook God that's going to come down and fix everything. But we know that there's something deeper, spiritual. You can't really have this conversation with the white man. You know why? They're not in tune to our spiritual frequency. When you go to a Catholic church, you don't feel the spirit. They do do the crucifix and stand up and sit down, and then they do the this and they sing this song, and then they sit back down, and they stand up and they walk around in a circle, and they eat a piece of bread and they sit back down. They go through all of this, and you never feel redeemed. This guy gets up here and talks for 30 minutes, and they sing a few long-haired, boring songs. You try not to go to sleep, and then they're talking about the ball game. They're buying their scratch-offs as soon as they get out of church. They're getting their 12-pack of beer, and they're running to get home so they don't miss the ball game. And if you ask them what the sermon was about, they couldn't tell you. They have no idea. They just know they went to church because they had to go to church. And then you decide to put on your Sunday shoes and go with them and find out they ain't talking about shit. They read a few passages and talk about a life lesson and talk about walking their dog and it started raining and talk about a lesson about the rain and the sunshine. And that's your church for the day. You know that ain't right. You know something there just doesn't feel. You don't feel the spirit. You don't feel saved. You don't feel raised. You don't feel any of that. You just went to church. So I know there's a lot of people that can't relate to this. You have to be in tune with your spirit. You have to be in tune with that vibration, that frequency, that positive energy that ties you into other positive people, the people that want to build on that strength of knowledge and continue to learn, and then apply that knowledge not only towards wealth but actual health, living a richer, longer, fuller life, having good, trustworthy people around you, raising your kids to not believe in the myths and the legends of American scholastics, but to actually learn about their ancestors and learn about their culture and heritage and history and the real history of America and her sins. I'm looking for people that vibrate on that frequency, and not the ones that just get angry because somebody doesn't agree with their point of view, or they're trying to indoctrinate members into their group. I appreciate having different people, different minds come together and we learn and we build, because eventually we will build and we will grow. Just like this channel. You know, this is a great platform, and I look forward to getting on Google Hangouts with some of you so you can call in or grab your headset so we can actually talk to each other and break all this stuff down. Alright, checking out the chat. Said black people are really white. Again, there's a lot of theories going on in the chat, and I can't confirm or deny any, but it certainly makes the chat interesting. Let's see. Africa was a very green continent at one time. Adapted to that continent very well, but they also destroyed the wildlife. The blacks adopted that continent very well, but they also destroyed the wildlife and ecosystem. Ooh, ouch. Now, before colonialism and before expansionism, tribal people in general lived off the land, whether they were American Indians or Samoans, doesn't matter. Every indigenous tribe I've ever heard of lived off the land and respected the land. You know, it wasn't until Europeans came through for the diamonds and the gemstones, and then for the animals, and then the precious trees, and the jungle forest and all. It wasn't until that influence occurred that Africa as a whole suffered the way that she's suffering right now. You know, there were wars, and I'm not saying that the tribesmen or that the ancients were perfect people. They had wars. They lied. They cheated. They steal. They did everything that humans have done since the beginning of human time. So I'm not going to make the ancestors sound like perfect people. But I have to believe that their way of life was much better and a lot less destructive before the European influence. Now, if you don't agree, let me know in the chat. Alright, if you look at the Egyptian hieroglyphs of people in chains, you'll notice that they have black features who were their masters. White man's greed destroyed everyone. That is true. White man's greed destroyed everywhere they've been, and one of the biggest vehicles for that has been religion. Which brings us back to the topic of the day. We're on our spiritual journeys right now, people. And we know better than what the Vatican believes, or what the president or his sycophants believe. We know there's a higher power. We know there's a higher purpose that we serve as the children of God, as the melanated spirits, as the ones who vibrate on that frequency, that we feel the spirit when we're among each other, that we know the devil when we see him. You don't have to be clairvoyant, and you don't have to be a psychic, but you can be an empath in the sense that you're aware of your surroundings through the spiritual vibration of those around you, to know whether they mean you well or they mean you harm, whether it's a coworker, friend. Once you vibrate on this higher level, this higher frequency, you start becoming attracted to higher frequency people. You start putting down the superstitious, you stop putting down the silly, and you start paying attention to the things that you can show and prove. It starts making sense to you, the different mysteries that back in the day people didn't understand. You start answering those questions that those pastors are too afraid to answer because they're too busy trying to run their hand up somebody's dress, or got their money and got their hand in the money pot. So what are your thoughts on tonight's topic so far? Right now it is 11 o'clock, and I don't have any reason to stop right now. I don't have a time limit, so anybody that's got anything to say right now, checking out the chat. Soon I'm going to have it set up so you guys can call in. I'd love to hear your voices and give you a chance to speak on it. So I want to say, if not by next Thursday, maybe the Thursday after that, we're going to have the live call-in show, because I'd love to hear you guys' opinions on today's topic. All right, this is from Elemental Media. Our growth as a global black people will happen simply because when you're on the bottom of society for all white, recorded history and brainwashing will fall. It's starting to happen right now. Like I said earlier in the chat, with the information age, with DNA, now we have access to information that they hid from us for so long. The awakening is happening. But the more it's happening, the more divided we become. Like I say again, we're breaking off into separate factions. We're breaking away from the church But we're going into other groups and other religions that are kind of new. They're not as established, so you still go in asking questions. There's still so much you don't understand, and you say, you know what, I'll give them my faith, I'll give them my time, and I'll learn as I go. By then, I feel like it's too late if you've given an oath or an obligation to these people and you find out that they're just hustlers or swindlers or talk a good game and end up taking your money, taking your wife, and hopefully not taking your life. If you don't cross the wrong person, to say or do the wrong thing, or try to get out of the group. That's kind of scary to me. So again, I'm on this journey with you. I'm still learning, and I'm looking for intelligent, spiritual minded people to vibrate on this frequency with. So I'm really glad to have people like you here to be able to ask these questions and hopefully find a few answers. I can't wait for the Beagle to call in. I'm about to start my own podcast, so after that. Katrina, I appreciate you. And if you want to collab, again, I'd love to have you to come and chat and lend your voice to the channel. Let people know what you think, give your opinion. Bring other people that like this kind of topic, so that we can also chat. I think the best method for this would probably be Google Hangouts, because that seems like what everybody uses. Once I become more familiar with the software, I'll implement it into the current show. And I invite you, Katrina. And this isn't a slight. Anybody else that wants to take part, I'm available on Twitter at Slide Jones, Instagram at Slide_Jones, but I'm not on Instagram much. I'm available at the real Slide Jones at gmail.com. And if you're so inclined, I'm also available at Slide Jones at patreon.com/Slide Jones. Please get in touch with me so that we can have the live chat include at least 2 or 3 of you, so that everybody can chime in and talk about the topic of the day, whether it be religion, politics, pop culture. Last week we talked about Kamala Harris. We talked about Jussie Smollett, and also touched on the Monique situation with her new Vegas show and her falling out with Steve Harvey. So we will be touching on a lot of different topics on the channel, and I really look forward to your participation. This is a learning process for all of us, Noodles. Matter of fact, this is only my 3rd or 4th live podcast. I've even dabbled with some live gaming. But these discussions are why I started the channel. These are the topics I really wanted to cover, and you guys are the people I want to cover it with, and I'm glad to have different outlooks on everything. Alright, well, I guess Noodle wants to step out. Noodle, I'm not asking you to leave, bro. Again, everybody is welcome here. And I do like the different opinions in the chat. Hey, Elemental, I'm glad that you're going to share this video, and keep in mind that this is only part 1. If you guys want to come back and have this discussion next week, what I advise you to do, and I don't want to feel like I'm giving people homework or telling anybody what to do, but if you've got verses from the Bible, the Quran, if you have books, if you've got books from Dr. York or Joseph Ben Yakiman, or no matter who the author, scholar, whether it's Farrakhan, whether it's the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, whether it's any of these guys, bring your quotes, bring your scriptures, bring your notes for the next discussion so that we can go in a little bit deeper on this, because I do want to hear from your own belief systems, where you're coming from, again, whether you're Kemetic, Hebrew, Masonic. I just want to know your flow. Katrina, what are your beliefs? Are you a Hebrew Israelite, or um, what are your what's your uh, religious belief? If you're still there in the chat, I'd like an answer to that question. All right, Elemental, definitely hit me up after the video so that we can connect. All right, Noodles, you're a witness to Jehovah. I can appreciate that. Some people call him Jehovah, some Yahweh, Yahweh Elohim. Some call him the Most High. Whatever you call him, I believe that he exists. And I believe that he created all this light in the darkness. And we are the children in the Bible who, I know that they say the Jews are the chosen people, but everything about our own plight, our own Holocaust, tells me that we, the black man, the original man, are God's chosen people. I see it on the look of every black child's face that has a smile. I see it every time a black kid walks across the stage for a graduation. You know, I feel like for every black child that's born, we just gain a little bit of our power back, just a little bit at a time. And the more we teach them and the more that we learn, the stronger we get. And as long as we have endeavors like this where we can come together, learn together, chop it up together, argue with each other, but at the end of the day, love each other. Because nobody argues like family. Nobody loves like family. And sometimes we got to have family discussions among ourselves that don't include the crackers telling us how to feel, how to argue, how to conduct ourselves, and what's appropriate and what we can and can't say. Because I use foul language most of the time when I say what I think, and I'll usually have somebody from the LGBT community or whatnot tell me what I say is offensive, or I should be more sensitive about what I think or whatever. But I feel like in certain ways compromising is cooning, and I can't compromise on how I feel. I am not going to sacrifice my beliefs, save for monetization of this channel. If YouTube tells me tomorrow that if you say this certain word that we're going to ban all your videos and whatnot, whatever, I would just find another platform before I would give in. It's bad enough that we have actors and stars, some of our most powerful elites, or so-called elites, that have to give in to the gay, Jewish, Hollywood moguls and stay in lockstep with what they say and have to apologize when they say something that offends them. I refuse to apologize. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to speak the truth to power and truth to my people, and the truth as I see it. And if they don't like it, if the little WikiBot bitch doesn't come up at the beginning of this video, then so be it. She can go sell WikiBot somewhere else. Besides, that's a different story. I don't even want to talk about her. I got a video out there with almost 700,000 views, and I can't monetize it because of a 10-second clip. And they won't let me go back and edit it. So they're making money off my videos, which I don't think is fair. But hey, if it wasn't for that video, most of you guys wouldn't be here. So, all it makes me do is want to go harder. So you got me on the first one, YouTube, but I'm not stopping. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I've studied a bit of everything. I've studied Dr. York and his mom's Bushwick. See, that's something I don't rely on. Amen, Katrina. Amen. I totally agree. Now, being here where I am in the South, again, I don't have a lot of woke folk to talk to. You talk to people around here and you bring up certain subjects, and they either look at you like you lost your mind or look at you like you're Satan itself. You know, you tell a Christian person, no, I can't find the tomb of Paul. I can't find the tomb of Peter, the tomb of Simon, the tomb of Judas. And then they sit back and look at you, and then they started thinking, oh, you know what? Like I say, we're all learning. So I can't look down on somebody who doesn't know. But I do question somebody that doesn't want to know. Those people bother me. You know, it's one thing to feign ignorance, or to be ignorant. But to play dumb like you don't see this, like you don't see what's coming, like you don't feel this awakening, you don't feel this energy and the spirit among the people, among the real saints, then there's something wrong with you. You know, Kanye, for instance, his radar is so thrown off right now. His spirit is so gone between the antidepressants, the drugs, the white influences around him, the white female influence around him, which that white female spirit is something else that I have family members that are offended by when I talk about this. And, actually unfollow me on Facebook because I go a little bit too raw. But in my humble opinion, and you can look at media right now, whether it's certain movies or whatever, white women are some of the most evil spirits on earth. I always thought it was the white man, but I'm here to tell you white women are some of the most evil, hateful. And then they look at black men as some kind of fetish. You watch these court shows during the day, or the Maury's and the Jerry Springers, and there's always some slovenly, sloppy, nasty, filthy, trashy white girl with some black dude. And it always got him standing there looking stupid, cooning, clowning, setting us back 50 years. I look at those poor white trashy things. I'm sorry. Yeah, Noodles. Hey, I have to agree. The white woman is out of damn control right now. And I said it in one of my previous videos. You even look at the movies, the way they sell them now. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I don't mean to go off topic, but I'm a big Star Wars fan. And I look at Rey, the character Rey. She can outrun the black guy, outgun the black guy. She can fly all the ships, shoot all the guns, and have the force, and never been trained in shit. White trash girl from nothing. Her parents are trash. She's trash. And she gets all the superpowers. And that's supposed to make all the girls feel empowered. Skip forward to 2019, you have Captain Marvel. Again, we got one of the frowny faced white girls with no ass, with the resting bitch face, and I'm tougher, stronger, faster, bigger, badder. I don't know who the fuck these white girls think they fooling, but they ain't fooling us. They ain't fooling us with the Me Too movement, their Captain Marvel, or none of the feminist bullshit that they try to push on black women. And then get these old coon-ass liberal women to follow behind them and put on a pink shirt or a purple ribbon or a blue star or whatever the fuck the next movement has, whatever symbol or button or hashtag they have. They fool just enough black people into falling for the bullshit. And then now they've taken down R. Kelly. They've taken down Bill Cosby. They came for Kevin Hart. And they're not done. Yet and still Charlie Sheen Still running around giving people AIDS, and now they got him back on commercials. Son of a bitch. How does Charlie Sheen get another job in Hollywood knowing that he knowingly gave people HIV/AIDS, men and women? No telling how many hundreds of people got it spread with him being patient zero. And they still let him be on TV. But they made sure that R. Kelly was going to have to work to post bond on a weekend, and no banks are open, and yada, yada, yada. They knew what they were doing. That was by design. They set up a couple of white boys, and they let Louis C.K. jack off on people. Now he's back. Like I say, that they're foul. This shit is not set up for us. But I'm so glad that there are those of us that are here to conquer, that see through the bullshit. They see that Hollywood isn't for us. They see that raggedy church isn't for us. And they see that this government isn't for us. But I'll be damned if I leave, not when we built this. This is just as much our country as theirs. This is our land. Hell, we own houses, we go to schools, we pay taxes. You know, we're not any lesser than anybody. Alright, now I'm just checking out the chat. Yeah, Noodles, I do like Star Wars and I like video games, and I'm conscious. Check that out. I'm not necessarily Harry Hotep, but I do have dreads. I do throw up my black fist, and I am unapologetically black. So, nah, but I'm not Hotep Harry. I'm not running around throwing the black fist in everybody's face and telling everybody, shop black, act black, do black, be black. I'd rather show it through my actions, not my words. So, I'm not going to try to talk a good game. I'm going to try to live a good game. And I do support my brothers any chance I get. For instance, if there's anybody here that has a YouTube channel, please leave a link. If you have a website, if you do music, if you do art, I don't care what it is. If you have a talent, please post it in the description, post it in the chat so that we can all share it and share, sharing the knowledge, sharing the wealth of your talent. No, Noodles, I'm not white. Nope. I'm a little, I guess, on the lighter side of the game, but no, I am a black man, and I do have different interests. So, yeah. Let's see. Hey, Demetria. Sorry I missed you in the chat. Like I said, I give everybody a shout out that takes the time to check out the channel. So, welcome. I'm Slide. I'm glad to have you here. Tonight's discussion is black spirituality and black consciousness. And I'd like to know a little bit about when you guys became conscious. What was the moment that you became not so afraid of other doctrine, that you broke away from what grandma taught you and what mama taught you and what got beat into you? At what point, what age were you? What book did you read? What person talked to you? What person did you date? Tell me a little bit about your consciousness journey and experience. Anybody in the chat that wants to share? Hey, Tokyo Woodward, the Most High is in control. You can believe what you want, but He put us here because of our disobedience. We will not get up until we humble ourselves to Him. J Boogie's going to put my Gmail in there now. Katrina, it's the real Slide Jones at gmail.com. And she's going to type that in now. But I do agree the Most High is in control. And that's the reason why I don't fear white supremacy. That's the reason why I don't fear Trump. I don't fear anything they throw at us. Number one, it's old. Yep, that's it. It's old. There's nothing else they can do to us. There's going to be another Permit Patty, another Barbecue Becky. There's going to be another David Duke. And you look in the next 20 years, there'll be another Donald Trump in office because these things happen in cycles. You know, we dealt with it after the Civil War, and then we dealt with it again during the 60s. Every other generation, we have to deal with a certain struggle or strife. In the 80s, it was crack in the inner cities. And then in the 90s, it was the jailing thing that Clinton started, where he started locking black men up in droves. So, you know, this is cyclical. This is cyclical. It happens once every couple generations that the black man is faced with the struggle. Hey, Noodles. I don't block people. I don't think I ever have. Like I say, it's always nice to have different points of view. Thanks so much for checking me out, man. I hope you have a great night, too. That's right. We never fear Trumpians. We're not afraid of MAGA hat wearing, racist, bigoted assholes. And never will I fear them. You know, back in the day, they used to burn crosses and call you a nigger to your face, but now they make sure you don't get the promotion, or make sure you don't get the loan, or, you know, make sure you don't get the raise. They're always pocket watching to see what we're doing, what moves we make, what kind of education we have, what's on our resume. That's the reason why I'm so for black empowerment, black business, black education. Because every road leads to home for us. The more we establish our own communities, the more we open our own banks, our own grocery stores. You know, our Black Wall Street exists. There are billions. Our spending power is our Black Wall Street. You look at the billions and billions and billions of dollars blacks spend in America, and you wonder why we're so poor and so-called poor and broke. Just our economic power alone could show our power. Just not showing up to one NFL game could show our power. 5 NBA starters take a knee. That could show our power. You know, Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and Charles Barkley, instead of putting their money together to go gambling in Vegas, actually put that money together and do what Omar and Polite couldn't do. And that is open a school for 500 elite black boys. I'm pretty sure they can afford it. So, again, where does consciousness lead us? Is it just going to lead us astray? Is it going to lead us into factions that don't mean us or our families well? Or will it be the thing that can bring us together? How do we get the Moors to sit down with the Masons, to sit down with the Muslims so that we can build together in our communities? The only way to do it is to stop the infighting. But the most segregated place on earth is the church. So for that spiritual vibration to work, I'm glad to have this platform to bring us all together. Because all it takes is for one of us to have one breakthrough idea to help the whole culture and to help all of us succeed. So, you know, bring your ideas. Share your knowledge. You know, let this be the place that we can come, no matter what faction you belong to or what your belief system is, that you'll be welcome and have a place that you can call home, a place that you can sit back, relax, chat. If you're driving in a truck and you're listening, you know, or if you're sitting at home, just chilling, you know, I really want to hear your ideas. I want to hear your thoughts. To my friends and my people overseas, again, glad to have you here. For the newcomers, welcome. I'm really looking forward to doing some big things with the channel. It's 11:30 now. We do have some replies. All right. Demetra says her consciousness awareness came in her 20s. Restricted, judged by the church. China, the newfound world, registered with NOI. Left that more aware of my own beliefs. When the publisher was 13, told my teacher Columbus never discovered anything. I read Knowledge of the God at 10. My mother was an avid reader. Continue to discipline us. So yeah, I'm catching up with the chat, and I'm glad that you shared your consciousness awareness experience with us, Demetra. That's the first thing that happens is you do get judged. And now, ironically, and for anybody that's new to the consciousness movement, you may want to be aware of this. Here in Georgia, the NOI and the Black Hebrew Israelites and several Black consciousness bookstores are considered Black separatist hate groups by the GBI and the FBI. A normal person that goes to the mosque and converts, who becomes a member, and I don't know the process. I don't know if it's called converting. I don't know what the actual nomenclature is, but whatever the process is, you go do that, and all of a sudden you're a terrorist. You don't have a criminal record. Most you've ever done was ran a stop sign or maybe let the insurance lapse on your car. And because of the way that you choose to pray and worship, you're on the GBI watch list as a Black separatist. Let that sink in for a second. That's one of the traps of the consciousness game. Is that the devil is going to try to stop you at every turn to get this work. They're going to try to pin down the knowledge because they know we have access to it. They know if we get together and share it, how powerful we can really be. With them selling all those black books and those black ankhs and those black oils and those black beads and those black t-shirts. It's too much black power. They know that realistically we can't separate. We can buy land. We can live on that land and put that land as far away from white people as possible. But you can't get away from them totally. Not even in Africa. They're, the Boers are there, the Germans, the English. So we can't ever realistically separate, but they can definitely use our affiliations against us. And I think that that's one of the worst things that I discovered as far as my journey so far, is that as soon as you become conscious and you choose a side, that you immediately become an enemy of the state. They watch you. They watch your social media. They watch you, your family. They want to know what you talk about. They're going through your emails. They're listening to your phone calls. They want to know where you work. They want to know what your motivations are. Because they know that too much black power will dethrone their ass. Too much of this melanin, too much of this spirit. Because, funny thing about a vibration is when you vibrate at the right frequency, a opera singer can break a glass, break a piece of crystal, bam, clean in 100 pieces with simply the sound of her voice, because she knows how to make her frequency vibrate to transfer that energy into the atmosphere. They know once we learn how to channel that energy, how powerful we can become and how dangerous we are to them. So I say, black man and black woman, Let's do everything we can together to channel and focus as much of that energy and vibrate as loudly and as powerfully as they can, so that no matter what your affiliation is, you walk in your faith, you walk with your head held high, and you walk strong, no matter what they classify you as, because you know what you are in God's eyes. And we know that we are part of creation. We know that we are the original created. And like I tell anybody, if you ever need a reminder of who we are, if you ever feel bad or feel sad or feel down and need to be reminded that you were created in God's image, all you have to do is just look in the mirror and remember who you are. Remember that there's nothing that your job or this government or anybody can do to stop your vibration, because you're already beyond their level. You're beyond their level of thinking and understanding. How we apply that, we can change the world around us for the better. No matter what affiliation you have, no matter what group you belong to. When we can come together like this, we can do big things. Like Tokyo said, we need to spiritually separate anything that does not bring glory to Yahweh. That's true. Like again, all roads lead to home. All roads lead to God. All roads lead back to that melanated spirit that we know is right. Because we know right from wrong. You know, white people are still grasping at straws at this. They still want to take yoga and think that putting on patchouli oil and walking around humming is gonna vibrate their frequency. They try so hard. Some of them even become Buddhists and no rim gay kyo, no rim gay kyo, and sit there and meditate and repeat chants, and they still can't. It's like trying to get a TV station. When they're doing that, it reminds me of a person trying to get a TV station on old rabbit ears. You're not gonna get the signal, baby. You can sit there and hum, and you can stretch your back and make your feet touch your ass, and it's still not going to make you vibrate on our frequency. I don't care how much goat's milk you drink. I don't care how many kale greens you eat. You're a vegan, you're this, you're that. It's not going to matter. You still can't vibrate on our frequency. You can't be us. You cannot get on that spiritual level. So, it's 11:38. I think we're going to go ahead and get to a stopping point here. But I do want to hear from the crowd. Looking at the chat here, says, how can you purchase that mellow background music? Let me get you the info on this track, because it is not mine. This is royalty free music on YouTube, and the name of this beat is ACCRALATE, acrylate. It's African music. The artist is Kevin MacLeod, and when I go back and edit this video, I'll make sure I give him a credit down in the credits. But it's ACCRALATE, African royalty free music by Kevin MacLeod on YouTube. All right, everybody, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the chat here, but this is only part one. Next week, we're going to meet again at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bring your friends, bring your notes, bring your books, bring your suggestions, but most of all, bring yourself. I am so glad to have you guys here. I'm so blessed to finally have 10,000 subs. Again, I have big plans for the channel, and I can't achieve anything without you guys. Again, thanks so much for the super chat. Thanks so much for the donations. Thanks so much for your time. Just one more last check on the chat. The next live will be 10 p.m. Eastern, Thursdays. 10 p.m. sharp. And again, hit me up on my email or at Twitter on my DM and we can exchange information so that way when we get the Google Hangouts running, anybody that wants to participate in the live chat can certainly do that. I may have it up by next week if we can work fast. Um, and again, business opportunities, anyone that has t-shirts to sell, oils, candles, uh, crochet goods. That's an inside joke for me and Jay Boogie because she is a crochet expert. Um, but yeah, if you have a YouTube channel, if you have a music website, if you have a Spotify, if you have any friends that have talents that you'd like to share, again, graphic artists, musicians, please leave a link in the chat so that way we can connect. Again, I'm about to wrap it up. Again, I want to say God bless everybody. Shalom, namaste, salam, peace. I love you, and I'm out.